Well, welcome back, everybody. And well, welcome. We're going to just take a quick look here at the Cincinnati Library, uh, just as kind of a peek at what some of the old world, may have looked like. And kind of begs the question, what has happened to our building style and architecture and art? Everything went from very Baroque and very, flamboyant and vibrant to very what's called brutalist, right? So this is the Cincinnati Library. Absolutely massive. Okay, cast iron bookshelves and spiral staircases. An incredible maze of books. This would be that area now, a parking lot. Okay. Just incredible. This is when they were knocking it down. We've got a good old Shakespeare there in the front. I wonder who the other two are, right? It's absolutely beautiful. Oh, John Milton and Benjamin Franklin answered that question. Just looking like your average brick building in any city. So you mean any city could have had a library like that? Man, that'd be something, wouldn't it? Let's take a look inside. A couple more times. Look at the windows up here. Absolutely beautiful. About 7 million by today's dollars, the cost of it being built. And the beautiful rose style windows in the background there. Amazing chandelier type structures, hanging light fixtures. Can't help but notice the black and white floor, right? We all know what that means, don't we? And if you don't, you'll learn or you won't, depending on if you're ready or not. Beautiful pillars, incredible detail, absolutely massive. Doesn't look that big from the outside, but wow, once you get inside here, it's absolutely stunning. Imagine studying in a place like that. When the end of the road came for the old main library, there was no resistance. No protests were organized, not even a letter to the board. Wow. And we'll show you here in a minute what the new library looks like that's in Cincinnati. But just imagine going and looking through all of the old newspapers, sitting and reading with your fellow man. Right? Being a child and going to look at their equivalent of a computer in that day, microfilm, right? Of course, a lot of the books and everything were indoctrination, much like today, or trying to give you a certain perspective on things. So I'm sure that hasn't changed. May have been a little bit easier to find something outside of the narrative in these places. Took 3 weeks to empty all the books out. I wonder where that warehouse that they all ended up in is. Was sold for under the equivalent of $100,000 in 1955. Unbelievable. And I suppose it is sort of a romance with this old world architecture. I honestly wonder where the brutalist kind of stuff comes from. You know what I mean? Let's take a look at the new library, shall we? And this is the incredibly square new library. So, what do you guys think? You guys think we should have libraries like they used to, or are you comfortable with your average 1 story, 6 computers, and maybe 1,000 books? I'm just talking about the Midwest anyway. Very small library here where I am. And It was a little bit different in Southern California. You can find some decent sized libraries, but now everything's online. That's convenient, right? In its own kind of way. Um, but we usually don't find contrasting information unless, say like recently, Russia decides to release a lot of information on history, much to the chagrin of the US or the British. I think that it's all just one big club, and at some point they do have to release more information once it becomes irrelevant. Once it's so far back in the past that there's just nothing anybody can do about it, you know then they're like, okay, we'll talk about Tartaria now. you know we'll talk about the technology of the uh late 1800s now. We'll let all the stuff out about the steampunk mechanisms and all of this, because everybody's so eyeballs deep in their phones that nobody cares, right? Very small percentage, care about the true history of the world, I would imagine, especially after going through school and, you know, being indoctrinated to pretty much believe that there was nothing interesting going on in history. Maybe a couple of crusades, right? But they don't tell us about the, catastrophism and all the stuff that apparently they used to teach that we're kind of finding out is the case, recently. But that was just a quick look at the Cincinnati library. And, just begs the question, what has happened? Like, what was the big change or the big, transition that happened, creating these very brutalist structures that we have today? So thank you all for tuning in to the Random Facts YouTube. I'm Random Randy, and we'll see you next time.